Time to say good morning to Lee Chippendale from Professionals Real Estate People, and the real estate program kicks off right now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Shane. How are you?
Awesome day, beautiful weather out there.
Gorgeous.
More could we wish for. What do we got up for today?
Okay, today we're going to call a few people. We're going to talk to Andrew Turner, who is the State Queensland Manager for realestate.com. Some questions about what happens with listing of properties throughout the festive season.
Okay.
I also wish to cover a little bit of information with the census that was carried out last year. Then we'll talk to Angela Evans from Angela is a financial advisor. Not a financial advisor. She is a loans marketer. So we'll speak to her about different things that's happening with loans. Then, if we get some time, I'd like to speak about the residential rental update on what's happening with the rentals at the moment.
Okay.
And then some information about lower vacancy rates, and then also there's legislation that's being brought in regarding crackdown on unruly people in public housing.
I've been reading that, yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting story. That was try and cover all those things this morning, won't we?
Yeah, we certainly will. I'll just tell you a little bit this morning about the tenancy review that's underway.
Okay.
Now, the REIQ obviously is the body that most of us agents rely on for updated information and so forth. They give us a lot of information, and a lot of the information they covers the legislation and things that are going through Parliament and decisions that are being made. But they're talking about a tenancy review that's underway. Now, we all know that the former Housing Works Public Minister was Bruce Flegg, so this does relate to when he was in that position.
Yeah.
We won't go there. Okay, tenancy review underway. The target review for the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act 2008 is underway to ensure the legislation is working effectively, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
The former Housing and Public Work Minister, Bruce Flegg, said the review included the release of public discussion paper seeking input from the community and residential rental sector, so the public actually get a say in this. The last review of tenancy laws was actually in 2006-2007, so that's a few years ago now. Yeah, time slips away.
It's about time we have another review.
It is, which introduced some significant changes, and it's now appropriate to consider how effectively these changes have worked.
So how long is this review going to take place for?
Well, one never knows those sorts of things.
So the public can still have their say?
Yes, and I'll give you, I'll tell you how about that in a second.
Right.
The review would concentrate on balancing the interests of tenants and lessors, streamlining service delivery and reducing red tape. Well, that would be lovely. Now, he goes on to say, we want to hear the views of tenants, landlords, agents, park managers and rooming accommodation providers on important issues that affect them, and whether the options in the discussion paper will address these issues. Okay, so they need to ensure that the Act is balanced and that there are no legislative barriers to improved service delivery by the RTA. So the discussion paper is designed to encourage debate within the sector, leading to submissions which are required to be closed on business day 2nd of January 2013. So a lot of people probably aren't really aware of it. Now, you can put in your little information. You just have to go to the website, which is rta.qld.gov.au. So if you go onto that website, people out there, if you have any input or anything, the landlords, tenants, agents like myself. So if you have some information that you think should be put in there, here's your chance. Get onto the website.
Question I've got for you right now, and it's just not, it's part of this topic. What sort of things do you see are shortcomings of how the legislation goes at the moment? What sort of things would you like to see put into place for both the tenant as well as, I guess, for you guys, the real estate?
Well, I'll cover a few little things later on with some of the other stuff I wish to talk about.
Yeah.
But it does get very confusing, particularly with the things regarding whether you're on periodic leases, whether you're on a fixed lease, when increases can be done in your rent, when they can't be done. So if they can make those put them in very simple terms so that tenants understand it as well as the landlords, because my property manager will spend a lot of time explaining to landlords, no, you can't have a rent increase yet, it's on a fixed lease.
Yeah.
So if things like that are made nice and easy for people to understand and probably make people more aware of it. I know in our office we call it the Green Bible. It's the RTA book for tenancies. We also always give that to our landlords because it's a really quick reference point. So if they use that book and have it on hand, we give it out to everybody. So it's just that little quick reference book, and I think if that's promoted a bit more to landlords, and I mean that's probably a responsibility that can come back onto the agents to make that more accessible to people.
And I guess having that quality service review within your company
Exactly.
to ensure that you're getting that feedback as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important as for agents and property managers and so forth to always attend what the REIQ offers, or what the professionals group, or the or LJ Hooker, or whomever. You know, if they have courses on this information, go to them, attend them, because the more informed you are, the more you can tell your tenants, your landlords, and it's so, you know, we are so much under legislation that we have to abide by, that, you know, we have to be conversant with this sort of stuff.
I guess in short, it's all about communication.
Definitely.
With everybody. So
most definitely.
It's got to be clear.
Yeah, so that's the sort of stuff we can cover there.
Okay, sweeto. All right, and we'll be getting into what's the next thing we're going to be dealing with.
Next, after this, we'll be talking to Andrew Turner, who is the estate manager from realestate.com, and he's got a little bit of info to talk to us about.
No worries. 101.5 FM, it's 10 past 10 and more. Okay, talking real estate, and it's 17 past 10, back with Lee, and we have a caller on the line with Andrew.
Good morning, Andrew.
Morning, Lee.
How are you today?
Very well, thanks.
That's good. Where are you this time of the day? Where are you now?
I'm down on the Gold Coast at the moment.
Oh, and I suppose you're making out you're working.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Okay, welcome Andrew, who is a marketing estate manager for realestate.com. Thank you for taking the time with us this morning. Okay.
No worries at all.
All right, it's the end of the year. Approaching, it's, you know, the Christmas time. Traditionally with real estate, people tend to wind up with their jobs, their hobbies, you know, and property advertising. But I understand some recent figures from realestate.com suggest that it's in the seller's interest to keep their houses advertised online in January. Can you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Year on year, we continue to watch the trends, and while some think January goes into a sleepy hollow, it's actually the opposite. I think people have more time, they're able to sit with their partners, look through more properties, and just use that time off effectively. So our data shows that people are certainly continuing to look post-Christmas and into the January period. And we see a lot more clicking through and viewing of properties, so the duration of time on site actually increases during the January period. So normally around about 9 minutes or up to 9 minutes per session, and that can grow to about 11 to 12 minutes per session.
It's interesting you say that, and I'll just ask you another question on that, but I know when we bought land here over 20-odd years ago, it was definitely after Christmas. We were up on holidays back in Queensland visiting family, and that's exactly when we bought the acreage that we now live on.
Yeah, I think it's also that transition period. If people are looking to move interstate, they're looking to get something underway, get the kids ready for the next school if they're moving. And it's interesting, weather can actually have an impact as well. A few years back when we had all that rain,
yes,
we actually saw an increase in traffic because people aren't outdoors enjoying the sunshine like today.
Yes.
They're using that time to surf realestate.com.au.
Okay, so you don't feel that these people in the January area are window shopping? You believe that they truly are out there having a go, getting out there and looking, and are interested buyers?
Correct, yeah, they're seriously looking, and we know this because the number of property inquiries to agents actually peaks in January each year.
Mm-hmm.
So the number of people clicking to send an email, get a phone number to contact the agent, or some of the other means that we have to inquire are grow in line with the increased traffic of viewings of properties. So that's great news for all the agents out there, but great news for the people with their properties on the market.
Most definitely, and for the people that buy the property of their dreams.
Absolutely, and people are committed to finding the right property, so they're preparing to spend that time on site looking. So certainly, have your property looking its best in your online ads for the upcoming Christmas and January period.
So, Andrew, what is your research telling? What are the people looking for?
Yeah, look, the local property market, they're certainly, in any real estate area, they're monitoring the prices and the volume of properties in a similar suburb. So they're looking at what's available on the market, whether it's a competitive marketplace or, there's very limited stock.
Yes.
And certainly the up-and-coming suburbs that invest are keeping an eye on median house prices. What's the next hip suburb, if you like, for development?
Mm-hmm.
So they're very savvy in watching, and this is certainly reflected in the data. And if you do have your property for sale, talk to your agent. This information can actually be shared through the agent reports or the property reports that we generate, that the agents can walk through with the vendors and stuff. So, and certainly the major players we're seeing in the market, the agencies with the biggest online presence, are certainly building their profile for that period because they realise there's an audience there that they can start the year on a nice high note.
Those property reports are very helpful because it's information that's constructive information you can go to with your client and give them the facts and tell them, you know, people are looking at it or they aren't doing this or there have been so many in this time. And I think it's a great tool for an agent to help build that relationship with the seller.
Absolutely, and for the seller as well, it's they're able to see what that hidden market, if you like, what are people actually doing behind those computer screens and laptops and iPhones and iPads.
Exactly.
How are they transacting with my property? Just as if you would do through a physical inspection.
Yes.
You're able to see, did they walk through all the rooms? Did they get inspection times? Did they view a floor plan? So you can see where they're at in appreciation to your property. If they're getting to a stage where they're saving, done all the photo views, saving the property, it might be that price, it might need just a little bit of a nudge one way or the other, and then that can obviously lead into getting those people. They don't disappear, they're just watching your property, and when the property hits that right price point, then they'll become active in inquiring, and we see that transition. So as a seller, definitely have a look at your reports with your agent and look at your strategy and your campaign, because there's some really good data there to show the true reflection of what's happening from people searching.
And Andrew, I think you hit the ball on the nail on the head there, because I mean, years ago, before the internet was as prevalent as it is with all the information that's out there these days, you know, buyers are so savvy these days. They know so much, and they are so pre-armed with information that, you know, as an agent with a buyer and with their sellers, that they just have to have everything spot on.
Oh, absolutely, and you know, we've discussed in previous shows the data of people searching from interstate. So I think at the moment we're at 43% of searches to Queensland listings from people who don't live in Queensland. So they're relying on really good property photos. You're right, the internet, RP data, you can generate property reports of, you know, what's been selling in the area. So they're really doing that research for when they do make the time to come here, or even if they're local to go out on the weekend. They want to know that they're turning up to a property that meets their needs and their shortlist.
Yes.
And certainly making sure everything is appealing to that audience, because you want them actually coming to check out your property.
Most definitely. Look, Andrew, I know you're a very busy man. You've got to go and do some more work down at the sunny Gold Coast. So I thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon. Thank you, Andrew.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Lee.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
101.5 FM and some music right now. We got another guest coming up fairly shortly, coming up in just a few months. Angela Evans. Tell us a little bit about Angela before we go to our music.
Angela is a mortgage broker. She's a lady that's been in the area many, many years. She's very informative. She's also a lady that's very involved with community events as well. So she's a lady full of knowledge. She's a local, and she has a lot of information to tell us about online mortgage applications that people do. So it's a little bit of a different twist this week.
Okay, sweet stuff. Coming up very shortly, we will together. Here's the Eurogliders. Classic memories from the 1980s. Some of the tracks you'll be hearing on Oz Rock starting Saturday, tomorrow. There goes the Eurogliders' top song from the 1980s. 101.5 FM. Time is right on schedule, 10:30. How's that? Our next caller's on the line already, and happy to say, Lee, if you don't mind, I'm going to say hello to Angela Evans. Good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Good.
Well, we're all doing spiffy here.
We are. How are you, Angela?
Hi, Lee. Good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
My pleasure.
Okay. So, Angela, there seems to be a bit of confusion out there regarding people obtaining loans online as opposed to using brokers or financial institutions. Can you explain why people are becoming confused with shopping online for loans?
Surely. I think it's more information overload in some respects, I suppose. People that go online I think there's a definite need for it, because if those that are really au fait and understanding what mortgage requirements they're needing, they can certainly do that.
Yes.
But those people that are not familiar with the processes, certainly have not the understanding of the difference between products and the difference between all the different features that a loan can offer, it may be very confusing for people to get a loan online.
It can be mind-boggling, can't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, also there's so much information on the internet that it can become completely information overload for some people, and it's a time factor as well.
Most definitely. Now, a lot of people out there, we refer to financial institutions or a lender. And, okay, so can you clarify for someone then what is the difference between a lender and what you do, which is mortgage broking?
Sure. What a lender does is they provide the funds directly to the applicant. So if I was an applicant going to the bank, I'd be offered that particular bank's lenders, like that particular bank's product.
Yes.
So therefore you're getting one bank's offer.
That's
all right?
correct.
Whereas in a mortgage broker, they have up to 20, some more, some less, lenders on their panel. So therefore they have access to many lenders that they can then do a good comparison for the customer. And that's the mortgage broker's job, is to find out from their applicant what their requirements are, where they see themselves in 5 years, what sort of loan they're looking for, and then our job is to match that loan to that applicant so that they are getting a loan to suit their needs and not just one loan from one lender, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Now, this was a funny experience that I had years ago. I deal through a particular bank. My bank manager that I dealt with regularly was away, and I just thought, he knows all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I actually went to a broker. Now, here was the strange thing. When I had been talking to the bank that I'd been talking to previously before he'd gone on holidays, they gave me, particular rate, particular costs, blah, blah, blah. I actually went to the broker who got me a loan through the same financial institution that I deal with and got me better rates.
Yep.
I found that amazing.
Quite a lot. Yeah, I've done that with a lot of my applicants, particularly customers that are new to you, and a lot of them they don't want to change all their banking products. Not that they have to, but a lot of people are comfortable with their lender, but the lender or the bank or the branch sometimes it doesn't always go that extra mile.
Yes.
and provide them the full suite of what products they have on offer and explain to them the difference between what an offset facility can do for a customer as opposed to a basic loan, which is just no frills, and obviously there's differences in cost, but if people have surplus funds and they want to utilise those surplus funds on their home loan, well, that's an option for them, and they're all the things that brokers can go through with the applicants, and they can still save them money because our brokers, their job is to also negotiate with the lender to get a reduced interest rate, and we are able to do that as a broker.
Very interesting. Okay, do you think that people sometimes focus on interest rates alone and perhaps don't fully understand the information required to go online for a loan?
Yeah, a lot of people are interest rate driven, and particularly at the moment because the rates are just so low.
Yes.
Most lending is under 6%, so anyone that's paying over that really does need to certainly have a look at their loan. But people do need to be not so rate driven because the product itself can reduce their loan over, or their balance of their loan over a shorter period than being on something that might be a low rate for a short period of time, and it may not suit them long term. So once again, that's all part of the broker's job, is to find out and make sure they're matching the right loan to the client's needs.
And Angela, it could be something as simple as some loans may not allow you to pay your mortgage repayments like fortnightly or weekly, and I mean most of us know that if you can pay your repayments, each week or each fortnight, it's much more beneficial than paying it monthly. Am I right in saying that?
That's so correctly. There obviously is a lot more flexibility out there in the lending world at the moment, but certainly if you're able to pay off your loan more regularly throughout the month, the more that money that's going into that loan is reducing the actual interest rate, the interest down. So, excuse me, Lee, I'm just going to...
You're right.
Yeah, that's all good, yep.
Don't hang up on me, Angela.
No, I won't hang up on you, Lee.
Because I've got a few more questions yet.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. With all the rules and regulations that financial institutions need to abide by, can online applications be interpreted properly, or do you believe that this can sometimes cause the client to not fully understand their obligations?
Look, I think it goes on how much the actual client or the applicant knows about the lending side of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think people that have bought, 3 or 4 properties previously have a fairly good idea of what's involved. But when it comes to mortgage insurances and first home buyers and, people that have only probably bought one home in the last 10 years,
Yes.
things change. And I don't know whether, going online it was always a wise thing, because they don't know the fine print either of the products that are on offer, unless they're happy to sit there and troll through the amount of paperwork. Brokers and lending institutions, we're trained
Yes.
to actually, we have to do a lot of training and a lot of professional development to actually make sure that we are providing the client all that information so that they have it all there when they're actually buying the loan. I'm sure it's all there online, but once again, it's a time factor, and if people have got the time to read through and actually understand all the fine print, it's certainly going to be a good way of getting a loan. However, that's the mortgage broker's job, and once again, it doesn't cost you anything. It saves you time to see a broker. So.
And not only that, you said how you have to do development and so forth. You actually operate under a license, and you are so, you have to act within the confines and do the right thing and act under all the legislation. And
absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. We actually under our license, where ASIC controls us. So
Yes.
there's no avenue any longer for brokers to, do you know what I mean?
No, you have to be
do
honest.
the wrong thing,
That's exactly right.
And our job is to make sure we're not putting people in any undue stress on their mortgage, and we are putting a product to suit their needs.
Definitely. All right. Now, so as always, anyone wishing to borrow for a home, they should first sort out their finance. Are there any basic pieces of information that they should come along to sort out where they stand financially? So that, they're walking in the door, they're coming in to see you, Angela, and they want to buy a property. What's the basic stuff that they should come in with so that you don't have to send them away 15 times before we even get there?
Well, I don't do that to customers anyway.
Okay.
But when customers come to see me, ideally, we need to know how much their income is. So we need to know how much they're earning, and that can be verified by pay slips, group certificates, tax summaries, those types of things. Generally, mortgage brokers require, or financial institutions, they need to know if people have got a deposit as well. So to get a home loan, and if people haven't, that's fine too. We can sit there and go through some ideas and ways of getting a deposit together, and,
Yes.
and budgeting, all those types of things. So there are certainly a few bits and pieces that you do require to get a home loan. And usually you get a checklist of items because there is quite a substantial list, but to actually apply for the home loan, those are things that will be needed of the actual application, but just to find out how much you can borrow, pay slips and whatever debts you might have, like rent that you might be paying, any ongoing credit cards that you may have, how much you pay, what the limits are, what the monthly repayments are, and any personal loans, any debt versus your income.
Yes.
That's pretty much what gives us a good idea of how much we can tell you can borrow.
Excellent, Angela. I know we had a previous speaker we were speaking with before who was supposedly working from the Gold Coast, and I know you're heading up to the Sunshine Coast. So Shane and
not all mortgage brokers have that much time off, but yes, we are going. Some of us try and get away when we can.
Well, Shane and I will just sit in here and we'll work in the little office, and you guys have a lovely time. And Angela Evans from Angela Evans Lending Solutions, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Liz.
Thanks, Angela. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank goodness we have air conditioning here as
Yes.
well at the station, which is a breath of fresh air. It's lovely inside here, although outside, you take it easy, folks.
yeah,
Slip,
exactly.
slop, and slap. You do slip, slop, and slap, don't you?
Most definitely.
Good on you.
Most definitely. I never get in the sun, but when I do, yes.
So what do we got next? Because it's a busy program this hour.
It is a busy program. I'd like to cover a little bit of information regarding some census information that I pulled together, just regarding a little bit about population and the types of houses and prices that we buy and how much we've grown since 2006.
Okie dokie, all that and more still to come here on the real estate program, part of the Morning Magazine 101.5 FM. Just a reminder, the Blue Denim Country Music Club final Saturday night social for the year is happening Saturday 8th of December, 7 p.m. at the Progress Hall, 34 Cornelius Street, Clontarf. Now the guest artist will be Deep Water. Entries $5. Everyone is welcome. More details, you can contact Shirley 3283 1183. That's 3283-1183. Or Leslie on 3284-1083. That's 3284-1083. Please note, from January 2013, Blue Denim will no longer be holding a Saturday night social. Instead, there'll be one social on the fourth Sunday afternoon of each and every month. All right, more details on things happening around your community coming up shortly, and back to the real estate program in just about right now, though. A classic memory from the band who has done a lot of stuff. We still remember them as LRB Witchery. Nice stuff coming your way. Checking out traffic, too, and the last trains for the day and the 7-day forecast still to come. Wind in your hair, and LRB out the stereo, in stereo. Alrighty, it's coming up to 17 to the latest news, top of the hour. At 11 o'clock today, we have Alan Jones coming up thereafter, and hopefully all going well. And more of your information about real estate coming up in just a few moments. Right now, though, it is time to do this. Lovely, no problems on the trains. I'm happy to say all running normal. Still got a lift outage at the Cultural Centre inbound platform and 132 loop in Brisbane City. Still have some slight details there of some difficulties. However, hopefully they will get back on schedule a little bit later on today. The ferries are all on schedule as we speak. Nice to see.
Today's traffic, thanks to our sponsor, the Woodford Village Hotel, just 15 minutes from Caboolture CBD, with great meals from Tuesday to Saturday nights. The Woodford Village Hotel, Archer Street, Woodford.
Okay, all the highways are looking pretty nicely too at the moment. Not much to speak about as far as on the highways is concerned, and no incidents at the moment. Just a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend tracks will be closed between Caboolture and Shorncliffe lines. Now, Petrie to Caboolture stations, the Caboolture line, from the first train on Saturday until the last scheduled train on Sunday, the 2nd of December. So both days you'll be travelling by bus, okay? That's from Petrie to Caboolture, and from Bowen Hills to Caboolture stations, the same deal. This is from 11 p.m. on Sunday, 2nd of December, until the last scheduled train. And finally, Bowen Hills to Shorncliffe, they'll have some closures as well for track work from 11 p.m. on Sunday, 12th of December, until the last scheduled train. Be sure to plan your journey in advance to allow extra travel time due to track works up to 60 minutes. You're all up to date with what's happening this weekend. Looks like I'll be coming in tomorrow to do my show without my bike. I'll leave it in Strathpine and I shall walk it from the station, which won't hurt me, will it? Alrighty, that's tomorrow at 12. All Oz rock music coming your way here at 101.5 FM. Now, we'll be right back in just a few moments. More with your real estate. Alright, it's 10:47, so 13 minutes to go for the show. And Lee, plenty more still to come.
Yes, we do, Shane. We might actually run out of time to cover all the stuff that we wanted to cover today, but we'll press on and see what we can cover. I just wanted to cover a little bit of information about the last census compared to the 2006 census. And it's just interesting, and I've only actually concentrated on Caboolture Morayfield. So when I say Caboolture, it's Caboolture Central, East, West and South, and Morayfield as a whole with the residential type area.
Right.
So I'll just take it suburb by suburb per se. Caboolture Central, as of last year's census, the actual population in that area was 5,264, which is 555 people more than in 2006.
Okay.
Caboolture East, 8,045, up another 3,422, which is very interesting because Caboolture East has always been this sort of a sleepy little area, sort of the older area.
That's a substantial spurt in growth, isn't it?
That's a big growth because you have the university there, you've got the TAFE College there, you've got the hospitals, so it's sort of like an education area. It's becoming that type of thing.
It would be so interesting to find out, are they coming from other states, overseas, or are they just from other parts of Brisbane area?
Yeah, I haven't got that. I didn't quite get that into it, but there is the overseas population coming in and some of the interstate as well, but I don't have actual figures on that because I wasn't that good, but anyway. Caboolture West, population 8,570, up 469 people since 2006.
Right.
Caboolture South, 4,856, up 592, which is obvious when you see some of the new housing and population that's gone in there. Morayfield, now this encompasses most of Morayfield, the population 19,440, up 3,545. So when you compare all of Morayfield with Caboolture East, there's only about 130 odd people more that have moved into the Morayfield area.
What's
So it's really interesting.
In nuts and bolts, what's the average growth rate now for this area? What are we looking at?
I haven't got an average percentage, but it's still, this area, the Moreton Bay region area, has always been sort of in the top 10 growth areas of Australia.
Really?
And it continues to do so. So whilst we've had a really tough 3 years with the global financial crisis and everything else, and with the housing market and real estate, the growth is still there. I mean, this area continues to grow. So, for people coming into this area, for people buying and selling in this area, the growth is still here, which is great.
And the other plus is, of course, with growth comes employment,
Exactly.
because more people will get more jobs because
Exactly.
more things are happening.
Exactly. And so it was interesting also, it dealt into a little bit of, it was actually what people, the most sort of homes that people are still looking to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So, the most popular was the traditional 4-bedroom home, followed closely by the 3-bed. So, but the 4-bedroom home, so most people are after that 4-bedroom or at least 3-bedroom study. So that is still the go. The prices varied in many ways. Some of the lowest prices, which was interesting, but when you research it further, it was actually a 1-bedroom unit, went for $67,000 in Caboolture.
Wow, that's
And
cheap.
you think, gee, that's cheap. But
I want 2 of those.
I thought, my God, it can't be that. But then when I looked into it further, it was actually a little 1-bedroom unit.
But the thing is, you could
that's-
always expand on it, couldn't you? You could always add on to it, couldn't you?
Well, if it's in
Or
a
tear it-
complex,
Oh.
maybe not, Shane.
Oh, okay.
You might
Skip
have to.
that idea.
You might have to push a wall out somewhere
Small-
that Body Corp. They might not like that.
Small detail that was overlooked there.
Yeah, small detail. But so it was very heartening to go through it, because I was just doing some research for myself to just see, how the office is going, what's happening with stuff there. It's just nice to know that even with all the doubt and bar humbug and bad news that is constantly out there, we are still seeing growth, and that's the Moreton Bay regional area and the Caboolture Morayfield area. I only covered those areas.
It's fair to say it's a mindset thing, really. I mean,
Definitely.
if it's poor conditions and it's doom and gloom,
Yeah.
you only need one person with a bright spark to change all that.
Exactly.
So you guys are doing all right then.
Yeah, we're doing fine. The area's doing great. So what I would like to come back on to a little, I might actually have to do it now, actually, because
Okay.
we're running a bit shy on time.
We are.
Before, when we were talking about the tenancy agreements being looked over again by the state government,
Yep.
I said I wanted to just touch on a few things about what you can and can't do with your leasing and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is from the REIQ. This is our Bible, I guess you might say. It just states that in the view of recent decline in rental vacancy rates, it's not surprising that many landlords are requesting that rent amounts be increased. Now, I say this because rents have decreased over the years. They're still not climbing rapidly, but we are starting to see a little bit of a shortage in rental properties being available. Again, population coming in, all that type
Yep.
of thing. So, landlords still need to be appreciative of the fact that we're still getting there, but the rents may start to increase a little bit. So, it's not always a simple task to comply with a property owner's request while still complying with legislative requirements. So these are the things you need to know. So Sections 91 and 93 of the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act 2008 deal with rent increases. So these are the things that landlords need to know. Rent cannot be increased during a fixed term agreement unless it is specifically stated.
Right.
Okay, so it has to be stated, and the tenants need to know this too. They
course.
have to have the right information. Even if rent increases are allowed during the agreement, 2 months' notice in writing must be given, or 4 weeks in rooming accommodation agreements. Okay, so we just can't come in and say, well, I want to put the rent up. Okay, you can, but you have to go by the rules and regulations. Rent can be increased in a periodic agreement by giving 2 months' notice in writing, 4 weeks in rooming accommodation. For rent to be increased, it must be at least 6 months since the last increase. So you can't have an increase in 3 months and then another increase in 3 months.
That's good news.
That is good. Well,
Thank goodness.
landlords may not think that, but anyway.
Well, I mean, they're covered under the quarterly, what do they call it, the CPI index. And they know that they can have increases periodically.
Yes.
The greediness just can be removed.
Yeah, look, and it's been tough for landlords out there because there's more things that come in on as well. But it's trying to strike that balance and keep the landlords happy and the tenants happy, because if they're all happy, it makes for a nicer relationship.
As you said before, you guys do in fact talk to the landlord
Most
owners.
definitely.
So I mean, obviously you're going to be advising. Well, we think you should bring it up to this amount.
Exactly, and that's what happens when we send out
And why?
lease renewals, and we say to them, look, we suggest that maybe you keep it at the same rent because, you know, it hasn't been great and you've got really good tenants, and maybe next 6 months you may look at putting it up.
And you don't want to upset the poor tenants because I mean, if they're good tenants,
Exactly.
why make it impossible for
Exactly,
them to stay?
and look, most landlords are very, very understanding with that type of thing. And the last thing, rent can be increased at the end of a fixed term agreement. For example, at the end of a 12-month agreement, the rent can be increased for the next 12-month period.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of talking with your property manager if you are the landlord, and also if you're the tenant, you know, ask. And these are the things when we sit down with a new tenant coming in to do the sign up. These are the things we go through so that they understand it. And again, I refer to what we call the Green Bible, the RTA book.
Yeah.
Has a lot of information in there which is easy for people to read.
Being an ex-renter myself,
Yes.
although I won't go into any of the specifics about it. However, I've talked to a lot of other people who are also renters, and of
Yep.
course, you'd like to find out how other people. A lot
Yep.
of people are actually a bit scared of talking to the real estate agent. I mean, it's a bit like a them versus us sort of scenario.
Yep. Yeah, and
I don't know
that's-
what can be done to help you
Well, I
break the barriers.
believe
Is it come back to you guys just
Yeah, definitely.
being friendly enough? I
Definitely
don't know.
does. And look, I believe it does. The more we can, one of the first things we always tell our tenants when they come in and do their sign-ups, for Pete's sake, if you're having problems, if something happens, like they can be the perfect tenants, but someone can lose, one of the members in the family can lose a job.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're struggling to pay their rent. So we always say, come in, talk to us. You know, let us know what's happening, because if you let us know what's happening, we can let the landlord know what's happening. You know, if there's problems with, if there's a maintenance problem, let us know. Don't let it build up that it becomes a real problem and then the landlord's screaming. I mean, obviously we do our three monthly inspections and we should pick those things up, but things can happen. You can do your inspections and something can bust the day after.
What do you do if you do make a complaint about, say, the maintenance and nothing's done for like a year? You're going through this knocking on the door. Say, hey,
Well,
what are you
actually,
going to fix it? What are you going to do?
the tenant can breach the office and the landlord for, you know, not acting upon it if it really nothing's been done.
So what's the channel that you do that through?
You come into the office and you ask for the breach form, and we have to accept it and go
Really?
through the process. Yeah.
Wow.
So tenants have many rights. You know,
I never knew that. I was never told about a breach form. You know
Yeah,
what?
you
Explain
can.
it to me.
well, the RTA book.
Yeah.
We explain these things to our tenants and our landlords.
Okay.
You will sometimes get the situation where tenants will come in, they've reported something.
Yeah.
Our property manager has begged, kicked, yelled and screamed with the landlord to say, please, you know, fix this.
What's the sort of time frame when you make a complaint like that?
Well, then you can
What
come...
sort of time frame is expected that it should
well,
be fixed?
Okay, how long's a piece of string?
Okay.
It becomes, you know, how serious is it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, are they complaining that they think the paint job should be repainted pink?
All right, hypothetical. Let's take
Emergency?
a stove.
Okay.
And it doesn't want to change temperature. No matter what temperature
Okay.
you put it on, it's on high, full bore, and it's glowing.
All right,
What do you do
okay.
in that case?
There are such things as emergency things that have to be fixed immediately. If the stove was not working at all, you have to be able to cook. So that has to be addressed immediately.
Yeah.
If it's something like that, in my opinion, my property manager is probably more au fait with this than even myself. But to me, if it was a red hot glowing thing, I would be starting to think, oh gee, there's an electrical problem here.
Yeah.
To me, I would start to be thinking, well, maybe that needs to be addressed very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, a day or two. And we would probably be saying to the tenant, don't use that element,
Right.
use the others.
But if it's all four and it's a
you-
problem that goes on for like a
No.
year,
Oh, God, no. You can't. Oh, sorry.
Seriously?
Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But no, goodness, no. No, you can't can't let that go on for that
that was a
long.
problem. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning anymore, but I mean,
Yeah.
that was a real problem. And
Yeah. No,
another
you
one
have
was
to be able to-
hot water wasn't working. And
No,
that
you
went on
have
for about a year.
Oh, goodness, no. You
Seriously?
have no.
Thank goodness
You-
I'm out of that place.
You have to. Those are emergency.
Serious.
Yes.
Okay. And what sort of repercussions with the real estate company for not addressing that?
Yeah. Well, we can
What's
end up
hypothetical?
before. Oh, we can get fines and all
Really?
sorts, and well, you know, you don't let it get to that.
Right.
I mean, if it was that bad, I would be saying, I'm sorry, I do not want to handle your property.
Well, we've got 10 seconds to go before the end of the show.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Shane.
Absolutely.
I will see you maybe in a fortnight, or I'll be back with Lucy in a fortnight, but
Well,
I'll
we'll
be
soon
here.
find out. But have a lovely day.
You
All the
too.
very best. And Alan Jones up next.
Okay, thank you.